which college football playoff contenders, or teams that need to be college football playoff contenders, that want to be college football playoff contenders, which of them need to put out this year? They need to do well, they need to go over their win total, they need to exceed their preseason expectations, or at least meet them. They need to break that glass ceiling, or changes need to be made. Which are those programs? I'm going to talk about this here on College Football with Sam. Let me know what you think of this question. Let me know which teams you think it's a do or die year for, or a year that they need to at least prove they're more than outsiders think they are. Let me know what you think. Who needs to prove in 2025? Who needs to prove something to secure their future in football, whether as a coach or even as a program, to do something they may not be able to do in the following years? Let me know down below, and please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and again, comment those thoughts that I asked of you down below. Check out my Discord server, which is free to join via the link in the description, and if you want to donate to the channel, you can sign up as a paid member on the Patreon page through the link in the description. But let's start off, really talk about only for a minute for each of these here. Auburn finished 5-7 last year, 2-6, 14th in the SEC. Their over/under win total is 7.5. They brought in Jackson Arnold. I love Cam Coleman. Caleb Wheatland was a good transfer incoming at linebacker. I love Connor Lew at center, and they have players. They've upgraded their talent roster in a really neat way. But let me tell you, Hugh Freeze has disappointed the first 2 years. Fans have been patient. It's been understood that he's in a rebuilding situation, but he has to do better. They have to get to 7, if not to 8 this year, I think, to output enough to give Freeze some job security and to help him move forward at Auburn. We have Clemson next. They finished 10-4, 7-1, second in the ACC, and they won the ACC. Their over/under win total is 9.5 wins, though, and they return a lot of production, over 70%. And when I look at the Tigers, I see a roster that can and should expect to win it all. I think they have the number 1 quarterback in the sport in Cade Klubnik. Second best is their neighbor, their rival, South Carolina, Lenora Sellers. Shout out to him. And they have an awesome receiver corps. Bryant Wesco, TJ Moore, Antonio Williams. And then on the D-line, TJ Parker, Peter Woods, Sammy Brown I think will do really well at linebacker. And they brought in Tom Allen, who I think is at least a better defensive coordinator than Wes Goodwin. And Garrett Riley's there for a 3rd year. They have the talent. Their coaches won 2 national titles. They've done a really good job retaining their roster. They got Will Helt in the portal, who I think is going to be one of the better DNs in college football this year. They need to win it all. Or at least they need to win the ACC and win a playoff game. Or just go above and beyond what they did last year. It's not quite natty or bust, but at the same time, if you make the argument it is, I'm not going to stop you. And to a certain degree, I actually think, yes, I'm actually going to say, for Clemson, I believe, based on where they're heading, it's a natty or bust here. For Florida State, 2-10 last year, the absolutely toxic 17th finish in the ACC, over/under win total of 7.5. They have to get to 8 wins. They have to go over that win total, in my mind, for Norvell to deserve any type of faith or benefit of the doubt at Florida State. Last year erased my entire view of him as a head coach. I thought he was one of the better coaches in the business, really loved where he had his program going. I hate it now. I don't think it's going to work. I think that the coordinator hires he made even reek to a certain degree of desperation. Florida State is in a total put up or shut up year, in the literal sense of the term. Even more so than Auburn, and I think way more so than Clemson. Clemson, the put up or shut up is relating to whether you win the Natty or you don't. They're still one of the better programs. Florida State, they're in a worse position than any of the programs we talked about so far, and maybe even a worse position than anyone else on the list coming off of that year. They have to do better. They have to break through. And Thomas Castellanos with Gus Malzahn, and then what they return on defense and limited supply with Tony White, I don't know if that'll cut it. It's a huge year for Florida State. It's a huge year, too, for LSU. Bring back Garrett Nussmeier, bring in Josh Thompson, guard from the portal, return Whit Weeks, return Harold Perkins. They get an AJ Halsey. They bring in Gooden at defensive tackle. Bring in Jack Pyburn from Florida. It's like, oh my gosh. And then Aaron Anderson back at wide receiver. They have a lot of talent. 9-4, 5-3 last year. Had some embarrassing losses. Kelly is on the hot seat. The only thing that may protect him from getting fired if they miss the playoffs is his buyout. 8.5 over/under win total implies they're going to be on the fringe of making it, but probably not in it. They can't do that. They have to win 10 games this year in the regular season, or maybe they lose to Clemson but go 6-2 in the SEC and find themselves in Atlanta. They at least have to go to Atlanta. They have to. Or if they don't, they have to make the playoff. They have to do something better than they've done over the previous 2 regular seasons with what they have coming back and with Kelly's pedigree and the talent and resources he has. We have Miami up next. They went 10-3 and 6-2. You may think, why is it a put up or shut up year? They won 10 games. It was the best season for Miami since 2017, if not maybe even better than that. Well, they shouldn't have gone third in the ACC for one. I don't think they exactly wasted Cam Ward, although they came pretty close to it, if not entirely did it. But the 8.5 over/under win total with that schedule is what tells me this is a put up or shut up year. Miami is not being picked to reload. 8-4 with the talent they have, or even 9-3 would not be reloading. They'd be taking a step back. Their schedule is tougher, yes, but they should expect to, with the conference they play in, win 10 games every year from here on out, or 11. They have Florida and Notre Dame non-con, and then some games against Louisville and SMU that are tough. So I understand, maybe 9-3 ain't so bad. But you hope with the talent and the replacement of the DC, the old DC, Guidry, with Heatherman, that there are some upgrades. I think Miami needs to once again win 10 games, and I would go even further and say with the talent they have and the fact that they're dramatically increasing in talent while Florida State's dropped off, Clemson is dropping off long term, that they should try to make the playoffs this year. That should be their goal. They need to put up or shut up in relationship to being a program that can be one of college football's elite. Doesn't mean it's final say this year, like some others, but I think they're in contention. And before I go any further, I want to thank Justin Ziegler for bringing this up, because he asked this question, what teams need to put up or shut up? He asked the question in my Discord server, which I invited you to join earlier, and I'm inviting you again to join now. Join the Discord server via the link in the description, and ask a question. Ask me a question in the hashtag YouTube mailbox channel. I'll put it in my log, and eventually this preseason I'll answer it. Michigan needs to put up or shut up. 8-5 with the talent they had on defense was unacceptable. If they had J.J. McCarthy, at any point he was there at Michigan, if they had Bryce Underwood at quarterback, they would have went at least 9-3, if not 10-2, and played in Indy and reached the playoffs. That was a disastrous season for Michigan. And the win over Ohio State, the winner over Ohio State is, I would say even after Ohio State won the Natty, the win over Ohio State was more damaging to Ohio State than it was a help for Michigan in terms of the near term. Long term, the win over Ohio State still helps because it can help change the perspective that Ohio State really is the far better program and always will be than Michigan, because they have been recently, especially in the 21st century. And yeah, but the win over Ohio State doesn't erase the 5 horrific losses, many of whom were to inferior competition, at least by recruiting rankings and some even by power ratings. Doesn't erase that. They have to win at least 9 games for the season to just be meh. Going under the 8.5 win total is a failure. Total failure. And I would say in order to have a successful year, they have to go 10-2, which means they have to make the playoffs. Oklahoma, put up or shut up. If Venables doesn't win at least 7 games or maybe even 8, I'm convinced that he's gone. He's gone. They went 6-7 last year, lost to Navy, and believe me, that only piled on things, because losing to a service academy, no matter how many opt-outs you have or how disinterested you are in a bowl game, is just, it's not a good look, because a service academy is just that talent limited. 6.5 game win total doesn't give me optimism, but they have John Mateer coming in along with Ben Arbuckle, and then that with the talent they have on their roster, I think is a reason to maybe pick them to put up and overperform this year. We have Penn State. So last year I said that Ohio State was not in a national title or bust year because they have the talent to win it all every year, and therefore they don't win it all this year and just win it all again, especially with what I thought were some problems that they had in terms of maximizing their chances on staff or even on roster, some of which were wrong, some of which were right. Michigan in 2023, I was under the impression at the time that Harbaugh was going to be there for a while. That was clearly wrong, but I thought since he was there for a while, had a really good staff, and, was doing better in big games, especially against Ohio State, and got in Ohio State's head, that as long as they play for a natty this year, depending on the opponent they play, the season will at least be good. Now, when it turned out the cheating scandal happened, and then when they matched up against Washington, that's a national title or bust year right there. You can't lose to Washington in the playoffs. You couldn't lose to Texas. The only possible acceptable losses in the title were Georgia. That was it, literally. With Penn State, I kind of find them in a more precarious position than Ohio State, obviously, because they don't have the same talent, or even Michigan, because Franklin isn't as good as Harbaugh in the big games, wasn't. And Penn State hasn't beaten Ohio State the prior 2 years before this year, like Michigan did in 23. They hadn't built credibility in big games slowly like Michigan did. Ohio State's always had that credibility. They also have always had the talent. Penn State doesn't have the credibility or the talent to be a national title favorite every year, like they do this year. And they have a better staff on paper than Michigan or Ohio State does, in my mind. I think Penn State is a title or bust team this year. Like them and Clemson, you have to win the title, I think, for the year to be a success. And if you don't, it's not that the year's a failure, like, let's say, other seasons where whether in the preseason or the regular season it became clear, okay, this team has to win it all. Ultimately, they just, anyway, Penn State has to do something. They have to beat one of Ohio State or win the Big Ten to, in my mind, have at least an okay year, and then they have to win the title for it to be a really successful year. Same thing with Clemson. They can win the ACC and win some playoff games. It's just like, yeah, it's a good year. But for it to be a resounding success, they have to win it all. And for Penn State, I think they should. And I'll even say in this video, I think they will. Next up, we have Texas Tech. Texas Tech. Very, very interesting case here with Texas Tech. The Red Raiders, they are a team that when I look at them and their roster, they should win the Big 12, and they should win the Big 12 by a mile. They have the most talent in the Big 12 by a fairly long shot. So again, gotta win the Big 12. But the question is, will they? That's a big question right there. Will they win the Big 12? I think this year they have to reach the playoffs in order for Joey McGuire to have faith. I think with the money they're investing, with the collectives they have, with the resources they have, if he doesn't produce this year, I think he's gone. We have USC up next. It's very simple. I don't think Riley's on as hot of a seat as some people think, but you can't go under your win total. You have to go 8-4. You have to go 9-3. Just win 8 or 9 games, beat a team who's good, improve throughout the year, and show that with the incoming recruiting class you have, also hold that class together. With the incoming class you have and the staff that you've assembled, you can have a huge year in 2026. And last but not least, we have Wisconsin. I love Luke Fickell. I do. But with the schedules he got assigned with, and the fact that he tried to change Wisconsin's offense too early, and he had some injuries, but also factoring in Wisconsin has a proud history and they don't like to lose, all of those things kind of align against Fickell trying to get his feet out of the quicksand, and it seems like the quicksand's swallowing him up. They have to go bowling, I think, for him to be safe. Now, he could go 5-7, and he's also safe, but don't risk it. Go 6-6, improve record-wise, from last year while having a tougher schedule and don't get blown out in any of your games, a lot of close losses in a bowl game, I think would buy him enough goodwill to really show himself in 2026 when they will probably have an easier schedule. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys all soon in the next video.